Today, we want to focus on how action is driving ecosystem restoration and how this is placed side by side with sustainable development goals across this. And for our speakers who will be helping us to discuss on these issues today, we have Roy Phelan, who has joined us already, co-founder, Donate a Tree to the World, the US branch, and he's been able to join us from Mexico today. We're very happy to have you, Roy, and it's really good that you could make it very early from Mexico. And also we'll be joined by his colleague, Mariana, who is the director of the Mexican chapter of the organization. And we also have Mohamed Danakabu, who is the founder of Plant Planet Ghana, who is also joined us and will be speaking later across the work that he and his team are doing in Ghana. So we'll start first with you, Roy. I know you've prepared a presentation for this purpose that you will be sharing. So we'd like to know how your work is championing community-based action in restoration, and how that is also, you know, progressing side by side with the goals that you are looking to achieve. And welcome, Mariana. Good to see you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Great to have you. And then over to you now, Roy.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, I think first, actually, so I'm in Mexico. It's the rainy season here in Mexico. It should be starting any day now, and so I'm here in Mexico planting. Mariana happens to be in England right now because she had a conference to go to and a presentation to make yesterday. So we're all mixed up. Also, I have to apologize for the lack of light here because there's no electricity, and all I have is a little lantern. Hopefully the sun will start coming up at 6 a.m. here, and I'll get a little bit more light as we go. First, let me present myself. I'm a person, you know, I'm from the Midwest of the United States. I got a degree in engineering. I worked in information technology for 35 years. And then I retired. I started learning Spanish. And then Mariana invited me down to Mexico one day to plant trees. We went and planted a couple hundred trees, and it was just an amazing experience for me. So we decided to form a team, and for the last 6 years, we've been working together, growing steadily and planting trees. And we're going to tell you that story today. Mariana?
Yes, so well, also to introduce myself a little bit to all of you, thank you for the invitation. Well, I'm Mariana. I have a lawyer's degree, but then I study a master in sustainable development. And that's how, when I came back from the master in Australia, we decided to start this project. A project called the Tree School, that is an education for sustainable project. And after a while, meeting the correct person and a great team, where Roy is now here with us, Paul, that is also one of the co-founders. That's how we create Donate a Tree to the World together. And yes, now we are happy planting trees around Colombia, Mexico, and some of them also in the US. So
yes,
happy to be here, and thank you.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen with everybody, and we'll walk through the presentation. Start at the beginning. And so I have a few slides. I know probably everybody here knows about climate change and buys into it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But it helps me a lot to just set the stage for why we're doing what we're doing. These are a few slides from the Climate Reality Project. Both Mariana and I are trained in the Climate Reality Project as climate reality leaders. And I always like to start with just a reminder that what we're dealing with is our atmosphere. And our atmosphere is not a thick layer. You know, if you see it here, it's really, if you go up just a couple miles, you can't, you can't breathe. It's so thin. And in comparison to the diameter of our Earth, which is thousands and thousands of miles, it's a thin layer. So we have to protect it, and we have to realize that we can impact it a lot. You know, we've already increased the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere by 50%. That's a huge change. That's a huge change that we've already made. And, you know, when I make this presentation, trying to convince people that they need to do something, I feel like I could just stop here because that's such an impactful number. And the problem is, you know, and the temperature is already going up. We all know that. I mean, everybody that we work with here in Mexico, the people that live in the small communities, they know it, they see it, they talk about it a lot. The lack of rain, the intense heat, the longer dry seasons. And we've already chopped down half the trees that there once was in the world. And the good news is, with organizations like Plant for the Planet, we're planting about 2 billion trees per year. The bad news is we're still chopping down 13 billion trees per year. It's too much. It's way too much. And we need to plant more. There's more forest fires due to the heat as well. And I think there are a lot of people that just keep on playing golf. I think this picture says a lot on two levels. You know, one level is the increase in forest fires. The other level is we're not taking enough action. And we're standing around playing golf, we're reading books, we're watching Netflix, and we need to stand up and do something. So we formed Donate a Tree to the World. And
So
Mariana's going to tell you about it.
Yes. So mainly the Donate a Tree to the World is an environmental restoration campaign and social empowerment too in the communities where we work. And we fight climate change through three main activities. We raise consciousness. For us, like as I said before, the education is very important. So we raise consciousness in the communities, but also around the people that help us in the campaign, like other organizations and companies that support us. The people, we go out in the streets and speak with people, communicate the problem, and ask them for help. We also do the reforestation, the restoration in many communities in 5 states in Mexico and as I said in Colombia too. So basically we plant trees everywhere is needed. Every year we increase the places and the communities that have the conditions to make the project. And we help and empower local communities. We give them workshops, capacity building, things like to be able to empower them. There are a lot of communities that where we work with kids also in the schools, and that's mainly the work that we do there. Mm-hmm. So Donate a Tree to the World was founded 5 years ago by Paul, that is not here now, Roy, and me. So Paul is also passionate about environment, and he's the one that is leading and working directly with the communities, has a lot of vision, a lot of leadership, and he say hello to you all also. Okay, so we have 3 reforestation methods that we want to share with you. That is seed bombing, mechanized, and manual. So all these methods helps a lot. It could work, but depending in the areas that we work in. So the thing is that we use manual, not because we like to suffer and do a lot of work, because the thing is that the places where we work, they are mainly isolated, there are difficult access, there are places where we work that we need to plant, like literally sitting down, because if no, we will fall down. Like there's a lot of inclination, and these places, seed bombing and mechanized methods won't work. So we choose manual because where we work is the method that could be able to be used. And sometimes people doesn't want to work in those places that are a little bit harder, but they are the places that most need it, the help. So that's how, so some message appears there. Oh, the questions, okay. So yes, we use the manual method, but all of course work. We have a lot of strong men helping us doing the whole. Okay, so donate the tree to the world, plant trees all over Mexico, in Jalisco, Puebla, Querétaro, Michoacán, and Oaxaca. And these are the places where we work. As you can see, it's difficult access, municipalities with a lot of poverty, like 70% of poverty, disadvantaged communities, but as well are beautiful places that we love to be there too. Well, our project always include sustainable main pillars. So of course, the environmental impact that we can work there with all the trees planted. Like by 2023, we'll be planting around more than 200,000 trees. And the quantities of carbon absorbed in few years when they are mature will be a lot. So we are increasing the number of trees we plant every year, and of course that will be a lot of impacts. Also, we have in Colombia, for example, a place where it's a project focused in a biological corridor. And now, with only few years, a lot of animals are coming back to those places. So a lot of environmental impacts and benefits. Of course, the economic too. We work with agroforestry projects, depending on the areas. But for example, in Querétaro, we are planting pine tree. In Tehuacan, for example, the mesquite trees helps the production of the honey that is delicious, this mesquite honey of the honey of mesquite trees. And also the social aspects, as I say, we gave them education and cohesion in the communities, and the legal aspects that are very important. We work in biosphere reserves, mainly on natural reserves that have like the main protection that a forest can have. So basically, this is how we work, and we impact in all these areas.
I think I saw this slide 5 years ago. It's one that Paul developed, and he explained it as our formula for success, that we have to consider all the environmental, economic, social, and legal aspects of where we plant. And I heard it sounded good, it kind of passed through my head. But as we've gone, I've realized how important it is. If you, for example, if you don't have the right economic things in place, the right economic incentives in places for the communities, they're not going to care. They're not going to care about the trees that we plant. They're not going to take care of them. And social as well. We have had a few problems, people letting goats in, and goats eat saplings. And, little problems like that can really ruin a whole project. So I really believe in this slide now. I think it's very important. And so we work with communities that are called ejidos here in Mexico. And ejido is a community normally up in the mountains or in the desert. They have anywhere from 100 to 400 people that live there, so very small. And And they depend on the land that surrounds them. And they know what's going on. They know their land very well. They know that, they know when the bark beetle comes in and starts destroying trees. They know that the dry season is longer and it's hotter, it's more severe. And they can see that the forests that surround them are losing trees. They also know that their underground water reserves are shrinking. And that's a big problem for them, obviously. And so we go to areas that realize this and have a strong desire to plant trees. So here on the photo on the left, it's there I am with this is Santa Maria Tlalhuapan, and it's a city of about 20,000 people that's surrounded by 18 different ejidos. And here we have the mayor of Tlalhuapan and various community leaders that are there to kick off our planting. We did this about a week ago, and so they started planting, and it's that important to them that they kind of wanted a ceremony to start the reforestation project. And the men on the right that's their forest brigade. They're people dedicated to maintaining their forests. They make fire breaks, they clean brush, and they plant trees, and they're very good at it. We've established relationships with a few different nurseries where we buy all our trees. They're all certified and local, and we plant only native trees. We try to plant a diversity of trees. We don't just plant one species to create monocultures. We try to plant a mix of trees that represent the diversity that already exists in nature, or we try to compensate a little to maintain that diversity. So how does it work? I'm going to give you kind of an example of one of the ejidos that I work with every year. It's El Magistral in Jalisco. It's about 8,000 feet altitude. So every morning I get up and I drive up the mountain in the truck you see in the background there. And we meet at the little town center and talk about what we're going to do that day. We load the truck up with trees, and the dogs all follow us in case cattle get in our way. The dogs are very useful. It's amazing. The dogs, they get the cattle out of our way, and they also, while we're planting, they hunt for poisonous snakes and scorpions. So I've learned to appreciate those dogs. And of course, the truck doesn't always start. But we have a guy on hand that helps us through that. And the team, you can see our team. Our team is just those people that are there. In Mexico, it's a little unique because it varies very much from region to region. But in El Magistral, a lot of the men are up in the United States working to try to earn a good living wage. And so the people that are here during the summers there are a lot of women, and there are a lot of youth. And so you can see our team is young people and women and me. It's pretty fun. I enjoy it quite a bit. Here's what it looks like. We drive up as far as we can, up into the hills above El Magistral. And you can see in the lower left-hand corner, we put the trees in bags, in big plastic bags, and we have to carry them up. We walk about, let's say, anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes uphill. And we'll start at the top of a hill. We'll take a section of a large hill. I'm calling them hills. In Ohio, we would call it a mountain. And we just paint the hill with trees. The men, anybody who can really, takes a pick and we dig a hole. And then the rest of the people follow us along and they plant the trees. Because it's so dry, one of the techniques that we've used it's dry, and it's also very hard for us to water these trees. It's probably one of our biggest challenges is watering, because, we can carry trees up to these locations, but carrying water is very difficult. So we try to do everything that we can to make sure these trees survive. We dig our holes as big as we can. We can, a team of 10 to 15 people can plant probably 2,500 trees in a day. And so we dig the holes as big as we can to create like a little saucer. We also use hydrogel. I don't know if you're familiar with hydrogel, but it's a substance, like a plasticky substance, that absorbs a huge amount of water, so like 10 times its weight in water. And if we sprinkle that in where we're planting, just a few capsules of that, when it does rain, it absorbs water, and it'll absorb, 2 or 3 months of water. So that's a huge difference that it makes. It really can impact our survival rates by a good 20–30%, which is really important. And Mariana, you're going to talk a little bit about empowerment.
Yes, so as we were saying before, our project involves a lot of empowerment in the communities. The communities and all the actors, we work also with the help of other organizations, like crucial actors around, like the government and the municipalities. But of course, the community is our best ally. Like, for example, here we have the women of Sierra Gorda in Querétaro, because a lot of men goes to the US for work. So there is a lot of communities full of women, empowered women and kids. These women that you can see over there are from they have their own nursery, and they collect the seeds from the forest, the native forest, and they produce the seedlings. So this is amazing, the work that the women do there. The kids that are also involved from the schools. We have a lot of beautiful stories about kids very involved in the project. They really know what is happening, and it's their future in our hands. So they are really great involved in this kind of projects. But yes, we work a lot with the women and the kids also that are in the community.
In the Sierra Gorda, we plant in a large reserve up there, and the reserve has an Eco Chavo program, which is kind of like an eco kid program. And they were heavily involved in maintaining trees that we plant and helping us with maintenance, counting survival rates and everything. And it's pretty amazing. We've developed good relationships with some of them, and I think, I know I've learned a lot from exposure to them, and I think also it's gone the other way. We have had one, I don't know, 12 or 13-year-old boy he's just a born entrepreneur, but he didn't have any resources. So we helped him. He's opened a chain of candy stores along the roadsides now, and he's working his way through, and it's just really impressive to see how we can provide just a little bit of help and make a huge difference.
Yes, and for example, we also, so the community is essential in the places where we work, and we also, for example, there have been places where we were able to give books and create libraries in the schools where sometimes they don't have that thing. So this is also things that we do. They have sometimes a lot of tourism coming, and tourism from other countries, and they have the challenge of the language. So we were also giving them like English courses to them to be able to receive this tourism from other places, because they have beautiful places, and ecotourism is also a potential there.
Right. Right. The community, what has impressed me most, before I started this, I didn't know anything about Mexico. What has impressed me most is the strength of the women here. They're strong people. And also just the communities have ambition. They're not just happy with the way things are. They want to do things with their communities, improve them. They want to take care of their forests, but they have ambition in terms of increasing tourism or just making their communities better for everybody. And I'm really, really impressed by it. It's inspiring, truthfully.
So here, well, this is a community that is called Tehuacan. Well, this is a city in Puebla. It's a place called Tehuacan. So every place where we work has its own charm, its own challenges. So for example, here in Tehuacan, it's a place that is desertic. There it's incredible, really. When the first drop of water appears, everything goes green, like in the next day. And there we have the challenge of the water, for sure. So there we are replenished the underground water reserves, but at the same time we are reducing the water runoff and the erosion in this place. So yes, as we have to put the hydrogel every year, the maintenance of the trees increases. There are some that will die because lack of water, but we have to plant it again. So yes, we are learning to overcome the challenges that are presented, and these are places with a lot of need. And yes, because if the desertic area is where we need to plant more, and the mesquite, that is a native tree, will also help in the production of the honey that we were talking about.
Right. This picture on the left is kind of an evidence of what's happening there. It's dry for most of the year there, and it used to rain. When it would rain hard, but it would rain a bunch of times. Now it's raining fewer times, but when it rains harder. And so here, this is a city of about 300,000 people, and it's in the middle of the desert, and it gets hot there. But you can see they get floods now because of the intense rainfall, and that's not good, because what it means is the water's rushing down from the surrounding hills. It's eroding the soil, and the water's not going back into the underground water reserves. It's getting contaminated. It's ruining buildings. It's a severe problem. We met with the assistant mayor of Tehuacan once a few years ago, and he explained to us every year they have to dig their wells deeper, and they're very concerned that one day they're just going to reach rock and they're going to have a big problem. So they have a program where they're trying to plant 1 million mesquite trees. The mesquite tree is the main tree of the surrounding desert area, and they have a program where they want to plant 1 million mesquite trees, but of course they have a problem of resources. So we dig in and we help them as much as we can. And here's just some more information, just some more pictures of my team in El Magistral. We work together really well, and I'm also learning the culture of Mexico. I'm learning the food as well. We sit down and we have lunch together when we break. And what I notice is everybody offers food to each other. And I'm always afraid to eat the food because I've had problems with my stomach here in Mexico. But I thought, well, it's the culture to always accept, food that's offered. So I would take it and eat it. And didn't always fit my palate. So one day I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm American. And I offered some of my peanut butter and jelly sandwich to everybody, and they said, no, we're not going to eat that. That's crazy. So it's okay to reject the food. Mariana?
Okay, so because I think the slides are getting slow to me.
Okay,
It doesn't appear like. Okay, so yes, here are some of the numbers. We start planting like 1,000 trees, the pilot, when we start the project. Like it was a pilot, we start with 1,000 trees. Then the number of trees were increased every year. And now we have a big increasing of the number of trees planted. We've been planting this year. We are now in the rainy season. So is the moment where we are planting the trees. And yes, every year we are increasing. We have goals for the 2030, no, 2030. We have a lot of goals of the trees. We want to plant 1 million trees for 2030. We want to have like more than 20 agroforestry projects, more educational programs, a lot of goals to achieve. But we are happy because every year we are increasing the trees that we plant and the impact of course of all this carbon that is being sequestrated. So these are some of the numbers.
And right now we're in the middle of planting those 140,000 trees here in Mexico.
Yes.
We're getting a little bit of slow start because the rainy season is not coming. But we've probably already planted about 40,000 of those 140,000 trees. We also do planting events. It's a way to raise consciousness of climate change. It's a way for us to raise money, and it's a way to plant trees. So we're starting slow in the US because it's just so expensive to plant trees up there. These are a couple of different events that I support. Geauga Parks, which I live in Cleveland, Ohio. Geauga Parks is a park system near us. They have 3 golf courses that they bought, and they're converting back to natural forests. So they need thousands and thousands of trees to be planted. And so I support them and try to plant as much trees as I can with them. I also am starting to do tree planting events with companies. Accenture is my old company, and they've consented to plant 200 trees per year, which is huge, and we do that in one day with them. But the challenge in the US is that first, we have to plant bigger trees. We have to plant trees that are 6 to 8 feet tall, because it just does, to make sure that the variety occurs. There's a long cycle of forest replenishment. One species arrives and then slowly, so the park systems want to accelerate the diversity. So we plant larger trees to give them a head start. We also have a huge problem with deer in Ohio. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but in many parts of the United States, we've killed all the predators. We've killed the wolves. We've gotten rid of the bears. We've gotten rid of the mountain lions. And so the deer have no predators, and they become a plague. And if you plant trees, you can pretty much guarantee that the deer will destroy the trees. It's almost automatic. So when we plant trees, we have to fence them around. I think in some of these pictures, you can kind of see that we're planting inside wire fences. We have to keep those wire fences up for several years to let the trees mature so that they're big enough so that the deer won't be able to destroy them. And so what the result is our cost for planting a tree in the US is like $55 to $60 per tree, which is difficult to plant a lot of trees. And so because of that, most of the trees that we plant in Mexico, where our cost is less than $1 a tree. We can plant 60 times more trees in Mexico. And we feel that in order to fight climate change, a tree is a tree. And the more we plant, the better. So that's why we plant mostly in Mexico, because of the cost.
Yeah. Hi, Roy.
So,
Will you be able to wrap up? Good.
Okay.
We'll do
So
as well.
I'll take 1 minute. So how can somebody help? They can donate a tree, they can host an event, anybody who wants to get in touch with us, you can plant with us. Also follow us on social media. We're Donate a Tree to the World in English, or Dono un árbol al mundo in Spanish. One of the things, if you do donate to us, you get a picture of your tree that you donated. We send that to you. So when you go to our website, you can put your name in and email, and we'll send you a picture of that tree. So in conclusion, I just want to thank Plant for the Planet. They've supported us and a lot, and we very, very much appreciate it. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Roy and Mariana, for your excellent presentation. There's quite a lot to pick from this. I see there's quite some comments on the chat. We're going to come back to all of those and maybe to the questions that people may have. So if you have questions for Roy and Mariana, please put them on the chat, or you keep them with you. I will come back to all of you to ask those questions, and then we can have answers from them. But it's very interesting to see how your project has evolved and the various components that make it very exciting and quite dynamic in many ways. But I would go shortly to Mohammed to know what is happening in Ghana, and just the same question as well. How do you integrate community-based approach to restoration?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, depending on where you joining us from. Before I start with our project, to give you more details and the approaches we do and what we've been able to achieve over the years, I would kindly like to introduce myself. My name is Mohammed Rabiu Danakabu, and I'm a Ghanaian and originally from the North. I actually joined Plan for the Planet in 2012. Where I saw, the adverts for the positions of the global board memberships, where, I actually contested as a board member for the Sub-Saharan Africa. Luckily enough, I got selected, voted for to become a board member. And also, fast forward, contested for the board president of the global board, the youth board, where I was lucky as well. I was voted as the board president for Plan for the Planet global board. So fast forward, in 2014, wanted to deepen my engagement with Plan for the Planet, and also, this climate activism in Ghana. We started organizing the academies, which are a day workshop for children, where we educate them on most models on climate crisis, what they can do as children, their contributions towards fighting climate crisis. So at the end of the day, these kids get certificates to join the network of ambassadors to fight climate crisis and take local initiatives in their respective communities. So I did organizing of the academies since 2014 to 2020, where together with some of the program coordinators, we decided that we want to advance the engagement we have in Ghana, because coming or growing from the North, we kind of have first-hand experience when it comes to the effects of climate crisis. My father was a farmer, so I'm in a better position to experience what climate crisis does to farmers, especially in the northern ecological zone of the country. Not only destruction of forests, it goes to a time that we experience floods where people lose their lives and properties. So this got to us, and then we decided that we want to change the course or help fight these effects. So together with my colleagues, like I said, we started the Plan for the Planet Ghana national entity, in 2020. And then eventually, we started running the structure. Then we felt we had to do more, community based projects, where we then started the Plant for Ghana. So Plant for Ghana, it's a hybrid restoration project that plants native species and also that of agroforestry species. So with Plant for Ghana, which started in 2011, we have 1,000 hectares, which we are currently restoring in Savannah region, which is actually a savanna ecosystem, where we are working with this community called Bampewa in the Savannah region. So our approach is not only to plant the trees and leaf, because we believe that trees are like children, where when you plant them, you have to nurture them and take care of them to reap off the full benefits. Like most restoration organizations in Ghana, where they just plant the trees and leave, and then the trees eventually die, and at the end of the day, no carbon is captured. So we wanted to do something different. So we secured this land, which is the 1,000 hectares of degraded land, and cause of the destruction has to do with illegal mining and agriculture activities, and also cutting down the trees for charcoal production. During our community entry, we realized that this particular community is a hotspot for charcoal production. And this region as a whole is where most of the charcoal that goes to the urban areas in Ghana comes from. So it was very important for us to locate the project in that community. So like I said, in 2021, we started the Plant for Ghana, where we started the planting season in July. So eventually we planted 14,057 trees of agroforestry species and also the native species. The reason why we brought it to a hybrid approach is that Plant for the Planet Ghana, it's more conscious when it comes to community empowerment, because we felt like people in those communities are not happy with the chapter of having to cut down trees to burn for charcoal. It's not a good chapter for them. So for us at Plant for the Planet Ghana, we had to find a way to help the community, not only saying, hey, we are going to plant these native trees to protect the environment or restore the area, but at least what is the direct or immediate benefit for the community. Doing that would help us get the support of the community for them to feel part of the project as well. So we added the native species. And where we are planting in the Savannah area is popularly known for cashew plantations in Ghana. So adding the cashew species and then the mango to the species we are already planting, it's a way that we can support the community in the immediate future, because the species of cashew we are working on, could start yielding in less than 5 years. So the community would have something to benefit from it in the immediate future, and then we could take them away from the charcoal production business that they're doing. So with our approach, we have a nursery located close to the Black Volta, where we draw water to water the seedlings, and we have a nursery of a capacity of 100,000. And in the nursery, we have 4 employees, 1 female, and then 3 males who are running the activities of the nursery. So our nursery usually starts in January, and then depending on the stability of the rains, it's unpredictable this time around thanks to climate crisis. So we always have to wait till the rains are more stable. Then we move the seedlings, which is just to the planting site, which is about 20 minutes from the nursery. So usually when we get to the planting, before we move the seedlings, we engage in a series of activities, pre-planting activities. First of all, depending on the quantity we'll be planting, we would demarcate an area on the 1,000 hectares. then we engage the community. So like I said, the interest is not only to restore the environment, but also to empower the community to, put money in their pockets and help them, stop those activities that has impacts on the environment. And we also realize that most of the youth are engaged in traveling to the urban areas to search for greener pastures, and some of them even crossing the Mediterranean Sea to Europe, which at the end of the day ends their lives and leave most of those families to be headed by only women. So during the planting season, the pre-planting activities we engage in, which is the demarcated for planting, and also that of cutting of the parks, are all, being carried by the youth and the women in this community on a daily basis, where we pay for their services so they can earn some money into their pockets. And then when these activities are done and the rains are more stable, then we go into the planting itself, where we plant, on a daily basis, depending on how good the weather is. So at the restoration side, which is the planting side, we also have 4 people working on a permanent basis as well. Our hope is to increase the numbers of people that are working with Plant for the Planet Ghana, which I believe eventually we'll get there. So the community we are working in is, to me, they are supporting us so much, because in terms of participation, in terms of getting the labor, in terms of, supporting the project itself with their local experiences, through our community engagements and through workshops we have with them, and through the stakeholder meetings we hold with them. We get to know or learn, their local approaches to restoration works, which I believe we sometimes have to incorporate some of it into our activities, just to make the project a community-based one, which it is at the moment, because the community now feels part of the project wholly, because they have direct benefits to it. And when it comes to protection of the area, we have the community greatly involved, because the 4 people I'm talking about are actually from the community, and on a permanent basis. But we also have the voluntary support we get from the community to help in terms of we having to set the fire boundaries from the planting side, so we don't have the bushfire destroying most of the plants, the trees we plant. So the community comes in to help us do all these activities. So I would say that with Plant for Ghana, it's especially in this community, is well accepted, and the community is already having to see benefits of it, because I can confidently say I've seen most animal species already returning to the ecosystem. And one time, like Roy talked about deers, we sometimes go to the site and we see rabbit droppings, and we realize that the rabbits are kind of like chewing the leaves of the mangoes, which it's good in a way, though it affects the mangoes, but then it's good that some of these animals are eventually returning to the ecosystem, which is good. And some snake, the adder snake species, we also sighted one on the site, and the ball python as well, we also sighted it on the site, which it's a good feeling for me to see this kind of animal species return into the ecosystem. So generally, that is the overview for Plant for Ghana project in Ghana. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mohammed. That's quite exciting to how this has developed over the past few years, and the whole component of the ecosystem is slowly returning. I guess you know how to manage the harmful ones, but it's good to have the species really returning back to their original level. I think yes, we are quite pressed for time, but I will try to maybe get a few things out also from this conversation. And just to come back, I'm going to come back to you, Mohammed, also to see which questions that people have for you. But it will be important to understand in the areas that you work, for example, for donate a tree to the world. You work in Mexico, in many communities. You also work in the US. What challenges do you face in implementing this model of community-based ecosystem restoration? And do you think your approach is wholly replicable in other regions of the country, or do you have to tweak things? Is it something that you can export from one region of the country to the other, or even to another country, or you have to tweak things as you go along? If you could just say this just in a few minutes.
Yeah, I think, well, obviously the biggest challenge for us is the heat and the lack of rain. And you know, just being able to water these trees, because we go up in high altitudes and things like that. But that's something that we are dealing with. Every community is a little bit different, so we definitely tweak our approach. There are some communities that you know, we work with them to identify the areas and where we're going to plant. Then we just drop off the trees and we visit a few times, and that's all we have to do. There are other communities where, like El Magistral, where it's a little bit different. You know, they want the trees, they want to plant them, they do have the will, but they need a lot more leadership. And so, you know, I'm there pretty much all the time while we're planting. I'm every day I go up and I plant with them, and we set the pace to make sure everything gets done and everything gets done right. So I think it is important for us to listen to the community, to observe what's going on, and adjust. That's very important for us.
Yeah.
Also, related with the difference between countries, for sure. Like, we have to adapt every country. For example, in Mexico, as Roy told you, we work with ejidos, but that figure, it doesn't exist in the other countries. It's different. For example, in Colombia, the lands are sometimes the places where we work are voluntary lands that have private owners, but that they want to designate for that restoration. And every place has their own characteristics. But yes, every country, and we have to adapt and switch all the approach.
Yeah, and now also to Mohammed, just to see, you said you have a lot of support from the communities that you're working, but also how do you, for example, the role of private sector in supporting this kind of restoration? There's a lot of resources to be able to scale the work that is going on. There's a lot of need for local restoration. So how do private sector come in here? Do you already have collaboration? And how can governments help incentivize this investment from the private sector?
Right. Thank you for the question. In Ghana, the government has what we call the Forestry Commission, which is a government entity, and that of the Environmental Protection Agency. But then with the Forestry Commission, they are directly responsible for forest reserves in Ghana and its protection. So, and then also we have the Forestry Research Institute, which is called FORIC, engage in researches across forests in Ghana. So we are working closely with the FORIC and also the Forestry Commission, with the FORIC to research on some of the species that can do well in the savanna ecosystem, just to increase the diversity of our restoration sites. And with the Forestry Commission, we rely on local laws being set by this Forestry Commission as well to protect our restoration site, and also work closely with what we call the local forestry officers around where we are working with. With private sectors, of course, we received some donations from private companies and individuals to help plant these trees. With the government of Ghana, yes, I would say they are working with the private sector as well to, scale up restoration efforts in Ghana through what we call the Green Ghana Project, which is a government initiative to, plant trees across the country with the efforts of private donations and that of, how do you call it, other source of funding from the World Bank. But with us specifically, we haven't, collaborated with the government to raise funds or to, scale up this project in terms of the numbers yet. But then it's something we're looking at exploring in the near future. Just observing the approach that we can do, to maximize the benefits for this community that we are working in.
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. I know, I'm sure maybe Roy, you have something to say about that as well in terms of private sector investment, but I want to take questions from the chat. So you could chip that in while you respond to some questions that we have. Let me see what comments that we have here on the chat. So we see we have quite a few people from DRC who are quite interested in what is going on. This is from Quigomba. It says that we're happy to follow the meeting. We're in DRC province of North Kivu. We plant trees, but often we are limited due to lack of financial means, and yet we have empty places where we can plant the trees for even a kilometer. And he shares his email. So maybe Kigomba, you could get in touch and see how you could collaborate. Of course, there are no resources is a problem for everyone. Both the climate finance, restoration, everywhere resources are a problem. Scale this as quickly as possible. There's Michael who is asking, how can we join this wonderful project? It's also joining from DRC, an academic group, a youth-led academic group in DRC that is supporting and empowering young people through beekeeping and agribusiness, apart from vocational training. So maybe you could share ideas on how they could be part of the work going on in Mexico, US, and also in Ghana. And there is another one here that says, okay, let me see. Okay, there's a comment about planting in Kenya 15 billion trees, very ambitious. Okay, so I think maybe these are what I have on the chat. Maybe you can respond to those, but are there anyone that has direct questions that want to speak directly to the mic? Please raise your hand and we can pass the floor to you. Otherwise, we'll just respond to those questions and proceed. Okay, I think you can start, Roy.
Okay, yeah, obviously, money is a big constraint for us. You know, we've been working with Plant for the Planet to help us, and Plant for the Planet has been very helpful, and other organizations as well that, you know, their mission is to plant trees. And we've just started to, we've had some success with private industry. We think we're ready now because, you know, it's always a question of credibility. When you first start, if you've only planted a few thousand trees, there's no credibility. So we feel now that, particularly after this year, after planting 140,000 trees, that we're going to have more credibility, and I think we're going to have more success with that. The other thing that we want to do is we're researching the carbon markets, and we're trying to figure out how can we take advantage of that and to plant more trees. We've started investigating it. It's a little fuzzy to us, but if there's anybody out there that can help us with that, we feel like there's a lot of potential there for us.
Yes. Also, I think we are betting also to the agroforestry projects that are productive and that also could give this economic impact too. So yes, but carbon market is something that we are looking forward to.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I take the market is super complicated with negotiations, so there's a lot to be ironed in the coming months, especially at COP28, to see how that unfolds. But of course, it's a key area that we must be interested in to know what is going on and how the accountability and transparency as well would be unfolded. So I think the challenge is out for anyone who is following that closely to maybe get in touch and see how they can help here. Mohammed?
Like I said, the carbon market, it's very complicated, and well, we haven't, started looking at it yet because we have some questions which we think are difficult to answer when it comes to the carbon market. For example, when you report that, okay, so you have 100,000 trees that, you want to offer to the carbon market, and then you say that this 100,000 trees can absorb, let's say, for example, 200 kilos of carbon. Does it stand for the couple of years to come, where we believe that some of the trees might die off, or some of the trees might be cut down, or maybe some questions, and especially different ecosystems also affect the rate at which these trees can absorb carbon. So it's pretty complicated with the carbon market, which we think we haven't explored yet. But when we are able to find methods where we can report correctly when it comes to whatever we have on our sites, then of course, we can look at the carbon market. But for now, it's an area that we haven't approached yet.
Yeah, and just finally, there was a question about how people can be part of your activities, of the initiatives that you're leading. So Mohammed, if you want to speak to that, and then Mariana, you could close off.
Oh yeah, with us, if the person is in Ghana, they are always welcome to, visit us in our restoration areas. Especially, we are starting our planting season very soon. We're just waiting for more stable rains, and such people could, join us. And of course, Plant for the Planet Ghana is a young organization, so we are open and looking for volunteers to help scale up the structure and also scale up the project. So you could check us on the website of Plant for the Planet, and you could send us an email, and we could, get in touch and know how best we can, advance our engagement. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and Mariana.
Yes, also, well, we are always looking for more people that help, and you all can help in many ways. Planting the trees with us, as we say, like we have in summer a tree camp where we invite people from everywhere to come with us, visit the communities, and be part of the planting season. Of course, donating trees, one or many trees. Also, another thing that helps us a lot is hosting events or crowdfunding campaigns. That helps a lot. Of course, sharing with others. And yes, always, also you can, I don't know if you are in Mexico or in Colombia or in the places where we work, it's easier, but if you are not there in the place where you are, you can communicate, share with others, and plant trees wherever you are. It's always good for the planet, good for everybody, and that's the way you can help, like doing something good for the planet and keeping planting hope, planting future, and doing whatever we can for a better future.
Thank you so much, Mariana. There's a question for Roy and Mariana and Mohammed. I hope we can be, I'm not sure if we can take all of this now.
Yeah, it can be a simple brief answer in a one-line statement. That would be good.
Okay, you could see the question on the chat. I could briefly, if you could speak to that, so we can close.
Sure, yeah. So my question is to all of you, how often do you come across using the Plant for the Planet apps? So primarily the platform, which is the web app, where you where we connect the donors and the tree planting projects, The another one is the tree mapper app, which is used to report and monitor the trees and the areas. And the number 3, the newly launched fire alert app. I'm not sure if you have already started using it to get the fire alerts. So a very brief one-liner answer on how often do you use, if you have used. If you have not used, then I will invite you to explore.
Yeah, for us, unfortunately, we have not used them yet. I've reviewed them. I think it's an awesome idea. We should be using that. It's another struggle that we have. We've been using Google Earth, obviously, to identify where we're planting every year. So we have that information, but it's difficult to maintain, really. And it's one of our challenges. And especially now that we're getting some steam or getting going, we need to really stand back once we get this planting season done and get organized and have good documentation, verification of the trees that we plant.
Mohammed, quickly.
Yeah, with us, it's I can confidently say that close to half of our donations we receive are actually from the app. The Plan for the Planet app. So it has been very an important tool for us using it. And with the tree mapper, of course, it's an amazing tool, and it helps us to keep our transparency on top, which is very important. And I can say they're easy to use tools. And of course, we're also looking forward to using the Fire Alert app this planting season to help, detect fires, because for the past 2 years, we've been experiencing bushfires. Anybody who knows the savanna ecosystem, it gets very dry at a point that kind of triggers bushfires. And unfortunately, in our case, sometimes it has to do with the villagers that we are working with, the communities, let me say, kind of hunting for rats to eat, which sometimes causes our fire, especially our very recent fire incident. So we believe that with the Fire Alert app, it's gonna be amazing, and it's gonna help us, to protect our planting areas. So Roy, I think you guys should have a look at it. It's gonna be very helpful because we are already, getting the benefits out of it.
Yeah. I did make a mistake. We are on our projects are registered. We have several projects registered with Plan for the Planet, but so far it's a very small percentage of the money that we're raising.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Roy, Mariana, and Mohammed for joining us today. I think we did a bit over time, but it was a pleasure to have all of you to share your experience, very rich experience, and the diversity of these experiences as well on how you're working across the various communities where you're planting. We hope this has been able to inspire a lot of people. I see there's a lot of interest from the DRC, so I hope we have something for them, both from the Plan for the Planet side and also from the donated tree side, that we could have something to galvanize this energy that we're seeing from the DRC. Thank you so much for being our guest on this edition of the Youth Summit Talks. And we really appreciate your wonderful insights. And this session would be on our Facebook page, so you could rewatch it or you could share with your network as you wish. And then also to invite the other participants, if you want to stay behind. Now we'll be having a networking session with our youth boards, but then you are free to also leave if you wish at this time. Thank you very much, especially Roy, for waking up this early to join us. We really appreciate that, and Mariana as well.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a nice day or night.
You too.